Simon Mayo, welcome to the Cambridge Film Trust and A Film I Love. Thank you for taking the time to chat to us about a film you love.
It's a pleasure.
Excellent. Would you like to introduce your selection and tell us why this film means so much to you?
It's like when people ask you what's your favorite song or your favorite album or whatever, and you kind of think, I don't even know how to begin to answer that question, but I tend to always stick to the same answer. So whenever people ask about my favorite movie, I have always said, and I stick with this, I've always said it's Amadeus, 1984, 8 Oscars, I think it got something like that. I've seen it more times probably than any other film, and I love it for so many reasons. I mean, it's a time of my life film, I suppose, but it introduced me to all kinds of pieces of Mozart that I'd never heard before. But mainly, I think the performances of F. Murray Abraham and Tom Hulce are kind of like career best performances. I mean, as far as movies are concerned, they haven't really done anything, I think, that's better. And it's also really funny. It's a genuinely funny film. And I think it's terrific. In fact, when I finish speaking to you, Jenny, I'm going to go and watch it again.
Oh, excellent. Can you remember the first time you saw it?
Yeah, I was in Nottingham. I was living in Nottingham at the time. I was working for the BBC Radio Nottingham. And there were two cinemas next to each other. One was the ABC and the other was the Odeon. I think it was the Odeon. I'm not sure. But I remember going to and just from the very first shot where you hear, because at the beginning of the movie, Salieri has tried to kill himself. And from the way they cut him going, Mozart, into the strings, it's just terrific. So I was hooked and engaged from that point. It also contains my favorite scene in any movie ever, I think, but maybe we'll get to that later. Well,
sticking with the classical music side of things, it's interesting that this film introduced you to specific Mozart pieces. Yeah. So maybe we should get to that scene now, because it is what I find fascinating about this scene is they talk about quite specific technical things like ostinatos that your average audience member may not be familiar with. But somehow there's something about this scene that it doesn't matter if you don't know it, because you're within it. So can you describe that scene?
Yeah. So towards the end of the movie, Mozart, who's been kind of undermined and kind of destroyed by a very jealous court composer, Salieri, played by F. Murray Abraham, and Mozart is dying, and he's written the Requiem. And there is this scene which I just think is extraordinary, hairs on the back of your neck time every time. Dying Mozart is dictating the Confutatis from the Requiem to Salieri, who is at last part of the genius that he has admired and hated for the whole of the movie. And so Mozart, who's sweating and clearly about to peg it, is dictating all the way through the speed, the tempo, ostinato, like you said, and he's doing strings, and then he's doing trumpets, and then he's doing the woodwind, and Salieri's going, stop. Do you mean it's that? And he goes, no, not like that. And then, and what they've done so cleverly in the movie is you hear, which you never hear at any stage in the Confutatis, where it's all broken up, but you hear the daddle dun right at the very beginning, and then the strings come in on top, and then you hear the whole thing all together. And I think it's just the emotional heart of the film. And again, it was one of the first things that I did, apart from buy the soundtrack, is to buy a copy of the Requiem and to listen to the Confutatis in its proper perspective.
I think the soundtrack, I was reading, I hadn't appreciated. I mean, obviously it put the Academy of St. Martin in the Fields even more on the map, and they won a Grammy for it and everything. But I hadn't appreciated that Sir Neville Marriner apparently only agreed to do it on the proviso that they wouldn't change, like they wouldn't adapt any of Mozart's original music for the purposes of the film, which I think, considering they changed so much about the actual historical fact, I was really impressed that for the music they remained completely faithful to it.
again, I don't think I appreciated that necessarily when I watched the movie for the first time. I'd seen the play in London, Peter Shaffer play, and of course he did the screenplay for the movie. And Frank Finlay had played the F. Murray Abraham role, the Salieri role. And there the music is obviously, it's an important part, but it's very much sort of incidental to the drama. But the use of the, it's a double album, it was a double vinyl album. It's quite clear that it has the authentic full Mozart pieces at its heart. And and I've got it still, I've got it on CD, I've got it a download, I've got it on everything that I can possibly find, just because I love it so much. What
would you say to someone who said, oh, I don't think it's for me because I don't really like classical music?
I'd say you're probably an idiot then. In which case, all you can say is, well, form an opinion when you've seen it. It's like saying, if there's a movie with a jazz soundtrack, I'm not going to like it because it's got jazz in it. Just go see the movie, because there's so much in there which is just telling you this story of a musical genius. So there's enough drama, there's enough romance, there's enough tragedy, and Simon Callow in there as well, for you to think this is fantastic. So even if you don't like classical music, I think even if you don't like classical music, you're going to love this classical music. You're going to love the way it's presented here. Even if you don't like opera, the way they show Don Giovanni is just amazing. I had a conversation many years ago with Alan Freeman, who was saying that, in his opinion, heavy metal and opera were very, very close together on the musical spectrum. And when you see the way Don Giovanni is done in this movie, it's like a rock concert. It's so over the top and so flamboyant. So I would say, even if you don't like classic, it's not really got anything to do with it. It's obviously at the heart of this movie, but there's so much else to enjoy. And the performances and the acting and the script is terrific, and it's funny. And you get offered nipples of Venus, the most extravagant dessert that Vienna has to offer.
Perfect. Well, on that, thank you very much, Simon Mayo, for picking a film you love.